was stuck in a cycle of comparing myself on social media and paying way too much attention to the algorithm and engagement that it was really just throwing off my passion and my inspiration for what I do. So let's talk about how I got back to becoming the creative source. I started 2024 doing a palette cleanser. I stopped scrolling on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and I really just leaned into enjoying life for basically the first 2 months of the year. I didn't really consume social media. I posted when I had to, like for brand campaigns and stuff, but I wasn't really active on there, and I cut down my usage dramatically. And I think it's really important so that you can come back to yourself and get that inspiration from you and like outside. Social media is not life. So let's get into how I became the source again and got back on social media and already had a video blow up. Back when I first started social media full time, I had a mentor. She is also an influencer, and she said this one thing that has stuck with me for literally my entire social media content creator career, and that is that if you want to be an influencer, and I know we don't like that term as much anymore, but if you want to influence people, if you want to be the it girl or guy, you want to be it, you want to be the source, then you have to truly be the source. You can't always just repeat and do the things that you see other people doing. You have to be ahead of the game, right? So when people are looking for stuff for, let's say, Valentine's Day, they're not looking February 14th. You can't be posting your Valentine's Day stuff February 14th. That needed to be posted in January, right? Because that's how the sources move. That's how an editorial calendar goes. That's how the magazines go. Like, they're already starting to think about the holiday of 2024 today, like in March of 2024. So if you want to be the source, you have to be ahead of the game. You can't just be looking at seeing what people are doing right now and just copying that. And that is so important to going from being just a copycat, just following what the algorithm is doing right now, to really being the source. And you have to have diverse inspiration sources for your creation, whatever it is you do outside of just your Instagram reel tab or the For You page. You need to be going outside. You need to be living life. Look at movies, right? Like, I watch older movies and I pay attention to how they're shot and the storytelling, and magazines for fonts or ideas for graphics. You want to be getting your ideas, your inspiration from somewhere else than besides the normal places. And yes, we all love Pinterest, and Pinterest is good. It's pretty good, but take it even a step further, like beyond Pinterest. How can you go even further to the archives than Pinterest? Like, that's how I really know the girls that are really the source, like the real creative girlies. When they, you ask them their inspiration, it's not usually, like, sometimes obviously we all pull from these places sometimes, but they also are saying like, oh, I saw this magazine from 2002 from like the Better Living magazine, or like I had this Vogue from 1985 and the cover, like, that is source behavior, okay? Like, that is what the girls do that really want to be the source. They want to be original and they want to be as creative as they can be. So they're really pulling from everywhere in their life and from the world. I was listening to a podcast back in January, and it was talking about how we develop our personal taste. And now, because of all the algorithms, our taste isn't as deep or isn't as personal as it can be, because the algorithm is showing like the same 50 videos a day to everybody, and they have millions of views on them. And if you just stick to what is in your algorithm, you're not seeing all that you could see. You're not exploring new ideas. You're not seeing things out of the box of it. So in the podcast, they really talk about how you can expand your algorithm bit, try to watch something crazy, go down rabbit holes to really expand what you watch and what you consume, so that you're not just this one-dimensional little robot of what everybody else sees on Instagram or TikTok. You actually have your own true personal taste. And it's not what everybody else has, like soft life, cottagecore, like Lucky Girl Syndrome. Like, it's expanded, it's unique, it's deep, it's got variety. I realized I was doing a lot of mindless scrolling last year. So in January 2024, I decided to get both app block and this other app called Clear Space. And the ClearSpace app, I only have that one on TikTok. But basically, every time I open the TikTok app, I only have 8 opens a day. But every time I open the TikTok app, I have to do a breathing exercise, and they give me a quote, basically to, you know, deter me from opening the TikTok app, and they give me an option to like read instead. And then I have to set a time limit for how much I'm going to be on TikTok. And I have found that to help me so much, because I used to just open TikTok whenever, at any point in time. I like, oh, I'm sitting down, like, like I'm waiting. Like, I was talking to somebody, I don't remember where, and I was telling what I was doing, and she was like, literally, girl, like, I'll open the TikTok app when I'm driving, and it's not even conscious, but you have to reset those neural pathways so that that's not the norm. And so eventually I kind of just stopped going on TikTok, and I just wasn't consuming it basically much for the first 2 months of the year, because I had that clear space. And then app block, I just limited the amount of time that I was able to be on social media, and I think I have it set for, I'm only allowed to be on social media between 11 a.m. and 10 p.m. And that's because, like, I have to work still. Like, this is still my job. But I definitely found like that helps me with, you know, readjusting my relationship with social media. It also made me appreciate life more, the beauty in my life more, because I wasn't always seeing these perfectly curated homes or events or cars or whatever other people had. And I was able to really just be appreciative and grateful for what I had in my life, and not always feel like, oh, it's not good enough, it's not that enough. And then also the pressure to post. Like sometimes, you'll see a video on your For You page, you'll see it, and you're like, oh, like I need to do something like that. I need to do something like that right now. Like this video is popping. Like I need to do something like this. I need to do this. This needs to happen. Oh my God, I feel bad. I haven't posted in 2 days. I haven't posted in 3 days. And then, you just go into that downward spiral. At least I did. And it was just no bueno. Now, yes, we can all do the marketing tricks and tips if we want to go viral, but at least if you're here on this page, I assume you're not here for the quick hits, for the just going viral really quick. Like, you really want to build an audience of people who really rock with you and like you for who you authentically are. Whether that means you just post less frequently, or maybe you're very chill in your videos, or just however you do your content, you do it the way you want to do it, and not the way people tell you that you have to do it, with like a little hook here and a hey, jumping text to the left, because that's just not who you are. And there's a time and place for certain marketing techniques, but also authenticity is always going to win, and you're always going to have that longevity. Because if you always have to use all these little gimmicks to get people to watch your content, the audience that you attract are always going to be looking for that quick hit, like that quick fix. And I personally don't want to be that. I'm very intentional about the content I create. I try to be very thoughtful about it, and I don't do a lot of trendy stuff. It's just not who I am anymore. I would say that a lot of creatives have a phase where they do more trendy stuff because they're trying to figure out who they are as a creative. And I was trying to figure out who I was, but I feel like now I know. And so it's very deliberately curated, and I like it like that. You grow slower, but the community that you build is so much deeper and so much more impactful in my experience. If you do it right, I think there's a way for you to build a community who are looking for what you have and would be more than happy to pay you, give you something back for you giving of yourself. And that's really what value is all about. Value creation is all about. All right, let's talk my framework for becoming the source and developing your creative voice. First thing, cleanse your palette, unplug from the algorithms. If the algorithms have you in a chokehold and you're always seeing the same kind of content, you need to cleanse your palette. You need to take a little break. Number 2, recharge with new inspiration. Go back to like when you were a kid. What inspired you then? What were you having a lot of fun with? Or even just a few years ago before social media, you feel like social media took that death grip to you. Like, who were you? What were you creating? What sparked your joy? And go back to that. Always going back to source. Number 3, make work that scares you. Experiment. Have some fun. Create something that you haven't seen done. Yes, we've all seen the transitions. Like, this is another thing to remember. When you want to grow, right? When you want to go viral and all these things, you want to attract this audience, the people, all the trends, all the ideas that you've seen, like, you know, like I know right now on social media, a lot of people are doing like that slow motion, running out of the room, putting on an outfit. Like, somebody started that. Like, that was somebody's original idea. And, you know, everybody may not tag them off rip, you know, that they created that idea. They were the first one to do that. But a lot of people do, and they do get some type of, you know, credit and growth and an audience from coming up with those trends. So instead of just repeating the trends that have already been done, not saying you can't do any, come up with some new ones yourself. Even if it's crazy, even if it flops, like it may not work the first time, it may not work the 50th time, but eventually you may actually come up with something that other people then want to emulate and do themselves, and then you go from being the copycat to the creator, to the curator, to the one telling people what they should do. I remember one of my influencer friends, he started a trend. You know, the one where you're like snapping and the outfits change? He came out with a trend and he grew a lot. Yeah, everybody didn't always tag him for being the one to start that trend, but he did grow a lot from that. Like, he grew and he started that. That was just something he decided to do, and like it blew up. So experiment with ideas. And then lastly, go back to the basics, the fundamentals. You guys, one thing about my channel, y'all are gonna see is like every video, I'm always gonna say, go back to the fundamentals, go back to the fundamentals, go back to the fundamentals. Because I am very right brain, but I also have an engineering background. So I come from a world where like there are certain things that are just fundamental for you to know and fundamental things for you to understand that really everything else builds upon. And if you have those fundamentals, you have those basics, like you can do whatever. You'll succeed at whatever. And those fundamentals are basically the key skills. Teach yourself those key skills. Take a class, which is marketing, sales, copywriting. Get good at the basics. Get good at selling. Get good at marketing. Get good at writing and copywriting. And then you will be able to express who you are to the fullest through those things. You'll know the right marketing for you because you're just being yourself. You'll know the right sales tactics because you're just being yourself. You're not just copying what other people are saying that you need to do. Stay true to yourself and you'll find the right audience. A social media reset can really help you rediscover your passions and adjust your perspective. Tell me, what are your biggest takeaways for avoiding algorithmic black holes? That's what I call them. They're like wormholes. You just get sucked into the algorithm. Anyways, tell me your experience with that. Tell me your experience with being the source and anything else in the comments down below.